At the board meeting. Figured this one will just make a little bit more lighthearted and ambushed, she says, ambushed. I think everyone here knows me, but if you don't, I'm Erin Parker. I'm the principal of Fremont Middle School. I had the absolute honor and privilege of keeping the media center feet warm for 1 year after Janet retired and Lori Schwabel took over. So I lend a little bit of perspective maybe to the role that our media specialists in this district play, but specifically the role that Janet Myles plays. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we got here, what we're doing, why we're doing it. Please enjoy the slideshow behind me that Mrs. Lori Schwabel made. Several of you are in it, looking good. Yeah, the fashion police are on their way. Isn't she cute? She's just so stinking cute. I can't handle it. Okay, so just a little backstory as to how we got here. Like I said, I was a placeholder for 1 year, kept the seat warm for Lori Schwabel after Janet retired 9 years ago, right? 10? 9 or 10? Okay, 10 years. So when people leave any type of school district, any type of job, there's certain people that you really do take a step or take a moment and say like, oh my gosh, how are we going to replace them? How are we going to fill their position? There's no one else that can do what that person did. And that's a very rare thing because, I mean, you know, everyone's replaceable, right? Not Janet. Janet is not replaceable. So when she left and retired, there was this district panic of like, what are we going to do without Janet? Well, the best thing about that statement is we've never had to wonder because she's always been here. She never left. And I say that with the utmost of pride and joy because she's like this little librarian ninja. She just comes in under the cover of darkness. You never see her because she doesn't want any accolades. She doesn't want any attention. But she's always there to help, whether it's at the elementaries with book fairs, whether it's here with inventory, whether it's anything, she's here. So in 2020, there was something she had done, and I'm not going to embarrass her with details about what she did and what she contributed, but Lori Schwabel, who is a crier, she's probably already crying, I come into the media center and Lori's crying. I'm like, what's the matter? And she said, Janet Myles is just the best. I said, oh, okay. We just had this love fest about Janet and something that she had just done again to support our library or to help. And we just started spitballing, you know, there's people that need to be recognized. There's people that need to be deserved. There's people that need to be honored. And she is one of them. What can we do? How can we do this? And I think at some point it was like, let's dedicate something to her. Well, what if we called this the Myles Media Center? And it just took on a life of its own. That's when we went to Mr. Detweiler. Mr. Detweiler, of course, was in full support. He asked for letters of support so he could take it to the board. The letters poured in. I mean, how can you not say amazing things about Janet? So the letters poured in, the world shut down. So fast forward, the 3 years since then, she's still never stopped. So she just gained more momentum to make us want to do this for her. So that's where this idea sort of came from. Now, last month, we ambushed her, as she said, and brought her to the board meeting to honor her as a volunteer. The board honored her service, and, you know, it was volunteer month, right? Something about school volunteer. Oh, and it was also School Library and Media Specialist month as well. So bring Janet in, tell her this, and of course, she's mortified. Just, why me? Why me? No, gosh, this is not, no, you're silly. And that's another reason why she deserves it, because she's the most humble human being that exists, and she will do anything for anyone. So there's seriously no one else in the world that deserves this honor more than Janet. So I'm going to read a couple excerpts from some of the letters that were written. This one's from Kim Beardmore, assistant principal of Fremont Middle School over there. Miss Myles was the Fremont Middle School librarian for 37 years, and she worked at FMS her entire career. During that time, Janet worked tirelessly to support teachers' educational endeavors, to promote literacy among students, and to educate all she came into contact with. I don't know who wrote this one. I'll get there. Even though she's still retired, she is still here and helping as much as she can, and she never quits. She not only was the librarian, she was the media specialist and learned and accepted with open arms the responsibilities of being the building tech contact. She helped not only the district, but the technology department with technology troubleshooting and getting people up and running whenever she could limit, to limit downtime for staff and students. That's the truth. Janet Myles, this is from Charlene Wilhelm. Janet Myles has continued her kind assistance to the library and media staff throughout the Fremont City School District, even in her retirement, by sharing her time and expertise. She has helped with countless book fairs, with cataloging and library software questions, with weeding collections in preparation for school moves when it was not required of her. Janet is a true gift to the school district and deserves the honor of having the Myles Media Center recognize her service. That's another thing. She literally single-handedly moved the middle school library from the old middle school here with such precision. You never would have known. It was amazing. And she helped do that with all the elementaries as well. And Shar at the high school, I'm sure, took on some assistance from her as well. This is from Mrs. Lori Schwabel, the current media specialist here at FMS. When the time came for me to change the course of my career, she was generous and took great care in helping to prepare me for my new role in the media center. As you surely know, there are so many aspects to this position, and she thoroughly and patiently guided me through the early stages of learning. She continues to be a constant source of wisdom and as new challenges arrive. And lastly, from Kim Meek. Personally, Janet welcomed me into the Sisterhood of Librarians in 2009. She was gentle and caring, yet precise with library protocol. She was always available to assist with any problems we may have had, big or small. After retirement, Janet continues to volunteer at our book fairs and any other needs we may have. Janet was instrumental at the end of 2020 school year, guiding us in how to prepare for consolidation and packing up of our libraries, easing our minds during the trying times we were about to endure. So I could go on and on and on. There's so many letters and there's so many kind words, but I think we get it. She's just amazing. So she deserves this, right? So, Schwabel, would you like to do the honor of unveiling the Myles Media Center? Drum roll, please. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Yay! Yay! And thank you sincerely to Mr. Jeff Miller, who made our beautiful sign up there. Mr. Jeff Miller's over here. Okay, I'm gonna hand over the mic. Is there anybody that has a story they want to tell about Miss Janet? Oh my goodness, Mr. Detweiler, don't hurt yourself, jeez.
Oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I've made a lot of decisions in this job. None I feel better about than this one, none. There was a tradition that anybody that got caught walking through the old middle school library, what would happen to you? What would happen, Janet? That's right. I'm sure there's some administrator that thought that was a good idea at the time. It was probably me. Was it me? Ooh, good. But we had 3 grade levels, and then like every 5 minutes. So throughout the day, every 15 minutes, we'd take 15 minutes for a class change. And it was a hallway. It literally was a hallway. Well, you could get in a lot of trouble. If you were horsing around going through that space, you were taking your life in your hands. The evil eye, every once in a while, maybe a strong word or two. But I'll never forget Jeff George, who was on the corner, had a connection down at the city streets department. and got some city blockades like barriers and put them up in the hallway. So we came in one morning and there were barriers in the hallway for people to know, do not cross, do not enter. But just that sense of humor is what I will remember. And I wish I could touch this, but her closing day remarks after the end of the year are legend. I would just wait for them every year for fabulous comments. And I'm hoping maybe she has a couple today. I don't know, maybe a couple, she'll have something. So that's my story I wanted to share. Just a lot of fun memories. And 348 is actually where I ended up teaching science when we switched to a middle school. So that building was a giant study hall at one point, was a library for a while, and then science. I was. Uh-oh.
Chatting, having a great time. Mr. Detweiler had to shush us. and he said he was so glad he always wanted to shush librarians. Well, and I must tell you that on a scale of 1 to 10, his technique was a 10. And I attest that. I attest that to you being in room 348, because that had been the former library, and you were probably bombarded with ghostly echoes of those shushes, weren't you? Renee, did the hair on your back and neck ever stand up? Because they were still probably floating around when you were there. Yeah, so.
Anybody else? I know there's a couple. Looking under it. And those TVs weighed 300 pounds. So, yeah. Y'all just came for the cake. I know. You brought notes?
I brought notes. I won't go through them all, but say some of them. First off,
You want up front?
we're getting feedback. Okay,
Oh.
all right. Go up front. Okay. Why not? I'm going to even stand up so I look tall. When I received the email from Mr. Detweiler inquiring if I could attend the April board meeting to be recognized for post-retirement volunteer work for the libraries, I responded that I would attend, but felt there were many people more deserving. So, like I said, I was glad to see everybody there, and it was great to catch up with people, but then I was totally flabbergasted and embarrassed once he started presenting the resolution to rename the FMS Library Media Center in my honor. I could only shake my head to say this should not be happening, and I think I'm still blushing. I was at least able to turn and salute and thank all the wonderful library staff members who were there that night. And I was glad I got to do that in front of the board, because they are the most amazing, dedicated, caring, hardworking individuals I know. Later I discovered that Lori and Aaron had planned this, and I know they anticipated if I knew what was planned, I would have declined, and they were correct in that assumption. I don't view my service throughout my career plus volunteering after retirement as anything extraordinary or worthy of such an honor. For one thing, since I was the only library media specialist at Fremont Junior High Middle School for 37 years, staff members didn't have anything to compare me with. That was a real advantage. When I retired, I knew I would miss the feeling of being part of something big. Being able to volunteer has helped me retain that feeling. I benefit from volunteering just as much as those I help. I also love keeping up to date by viewing board agendas, And you carefully hid that little item, didn't you? Um, and I look at the school Facebook page, and when I'm in the schools, I'm just amazed at what I see happening. It's just incredible. People are all of you are so deserving of this kind of honor because you work so hard and you're so dedicated to what you do. I grew up in a family of readers and have many fond memories of going to the Liberty Center Public Library in the summers to check out a whole bunch of books. Liberty Center, by the way, is more renowned for being the hometown of Atkinson Principal Chris Ward. We grow great people there, don't we? I started my career at a time when the state required school districts to provide libraries to staff buildings with certified library media specialists as well as aides based on student population, and to provide a percentage of the district's funds for library materials and equipment. Those requirements disappeared over the years, and sadly, many districts have closed libraries. I'm truly grateful that the FCSD board continues to understand the value of and support the library media centers and choose to include them in all the new buildings. And I was glad you expressed that night too. When I started at the junior high in 1976-77, I was welcomed by a wonderful group of veteran teachers and administrators who befriended and mentored me. In turn, I pledged to always reach out to staff members and provide as much support as I could, whether it was through providing materials to support projects and research, assisting with computer problems, scheduling, delivering, maintaining, and cleaning audiovisual and computer equipment. You'd be surprised at what you would find in overhead projector. Whoa. Or just listening when they needed to vent. I was happy I could help. Initially, the library was mostly used by many students as an escape from large study halls. Although dealing with those large numbers of study hall students could be very challenging at times, I did enjoy getting to know my regular visitors. My goal became to promote the use of library for research and projects and class visits to check out books. I was thrilled when my efforts to encourage those uses continued to increase steadily. Teachers from all subject areas made use of the Library Media Center for research on a variety of topics, for working on PowerPoint presentations, and for STEM activities before STEM became a buzzword, such as Mike Schuppeny's designing castle floor plans and board games using math skills, Renee Bassett's classes building those roller coasters, taping them up to the stairs and all kinds of things. There was nothing I liked better than researching possible topics, pulling materials, and printing quality resources from the internet when we didn't have enough computers for all students to use. Much to their dismay, as Troy Dole will confirm, I still felt it important to start students out researching with high-quality print materials before turning them loose on the computers. I cannot express how grateful I was for all those who utilized the Media Center. Any success I had can be linked to working with amazing fellow library media specialists. Kay Enderlin, former Ross Library Media Specialist and elementary library and LRC coordinator, was a dynamo. She really got the library program going and did so much for us. Shara Wilhelm, former Ross High Library Media Specialist, who I was amazed by. She was so talented at promoting the library, presenting instruction, and so forth. And Melissa Detweiler, better known as the lovely Mrs. Detweiler, former FCSD teacher and elementary library and LRC coordinator. They were true leaders and role models for me. I was blessed to be assisted by library media aides including the amazing Barb Jennings, who first worked at the 7th grade Riley building out in Paradise, and then at the junior high FMS full-time from 1983 until like 2006. After the 9th graders moved to Ross, and I was assigned the additional role as elementary library coordinator, and the LRC was moved to FMS in 2007, when Melissa moved on to do great things at Clyde. I was so grateful for the assistance of Betty Sterling, Brenda Schwoko, and Mary Reinhout, who split their time between FMS and other libraries. I also grew very close to all the elementary library media aides after I took over from Melissa. They are truly the most caring, hardworking, creative, dedicated group of amazing women who give so much to their students and staffs. And it was my great pleasure to work with them, although I always wished I could do more to help. I also appreciated the chance to work with student library assistants up until 1995-96 when we computerized. They loved getting out of study hall to help with such tasks as checking books in and out and handwriting all those overdue notices before computers. Can you imagine? Some of those assistants are now FCSD employees. Your very own student resource officer, Tony Olvera, worked in the library for 2 years, from 1985-86 to 86-87. He was adorable. What can I say? And then Gina Hoppus-Heinlein, assistant to the superintendent, worked in 1983 to 84. I'm thinking, I was missing one of the yearbooks. I'm thinking Josie Smith, who's now administrative assistant facilities nutrition, might have worked in the library in 82 to 83. And if she didn't, she sure would have been a good helper. I was so lucky to work over the years with outstanding colleagues at the junior high middle school. Teachers, administrators, counselors, secretaries, paraprofessional aides, custodians, cooks, all were top notch. I could not have performed any of their jobs. I would have been fired right off the bat if I tried to be a secretary or definitely a cook. I always tried to show them appreciation, and I also received great support from district administrators and staff, including Dr. Joe Battles and Denise Hurt, whose many duties included overseeing the library media program, and also all our wonderful superintendents, ending with the best, Mr. Detweiler. I would have been lost without Kim Span and Nan Selt guiding me through the financial processes using FinDat, BudSum, and USAS, dealing with budgets, estimating revenue and expenditures, tracking budget accounts, and submitting orders when I took over the elementary libraries. Mainly, I really can't imagine how I would have survived without the ongoing help of the wonderful FCSD technology department. Rhonda Schmidt, dubbed my honorary niece by Kay Enderlin, and I think she is my niece now. And all the former and current techies are my heroes. I learned so much from them and enjoyed being able to help with computer troubleshooting and being able to report problems I couldn't solve while reassuring staff members that the techies would be coming to the rescue. I quickly learned that flexibility and the need to constantly learn new skills and face new challenges was key to survival. This was really put to test during some of the greatest challenges of my year, moving libraries. The best was surviving the building renovation from 1979 till 1981, basically, while still working in that building. I can still hear the jackhammers, smell the dust, and see the plastic curtains blocking off sections of the building. I felt bad for the teachers who had to shift classrooms as construction progressed. And I wasn't too happy about having to box up and move the library materials to the temporary room before being able to move into the new permanent location that was previously the cafeteria, which brought another challenge with the loft, which I fondly call Fleischman's Folly. That was the remainder of the fourth floor, and it was, moving on. Moving the 7th grade library and incorporating materials into the junior high building in 1982 when Riley was closed, and then coping with more than 1,300 students in the building after the move of 7th graders into the junior high. We were one of the largest, if not the largest, junior highs in the state at that time. Then I got to move the LRC to the old junior high building in 2007. Then I moved the old junior high building to the new FMS building on North Street, 2011, 2012. I was so glad I could stay and help with that process. I would not have wanted to leave that for somebody new coming in. Not content that year, I then went on to help move the Otis Library to the room at the end of that school year. Terry, I kept warning her, don't be alarmed when you come back, because she was gone for a bit. And it was quite a scene. Even after volunteering, I helped, retiring, I helped volunteer to move the Hayes Library from a classroom inside the building to a portable classroom. That was another fun experience, and Marcia did a great job planning that, and we survived, didn't we, Marcia? And then in 2020, I did help volunteer to help with combining the elementary library collections, boxing up in preparation for the move to the 4 new elementaries, and then COVID interfered. There's a good reason I earned the nickname Weeding Queen, because I was legendary for weeding out old, unused materials. Back when I was moving from the old building to this building, they just brought in a dumpster, and I went down to a classroom on the 3rd floor and was just able to pitch them right in there. When I retired at the end of 2012, 2013, I was not sure who my replacement would be or who had applied. I thought perhaps, since it was the same year as the last papal enclave, when a new pope was being chosen, that when the decision was made, white smoke could be released from the roof of MFMS. Alas, that did not happen. I'm still disappointed about that. But I was glad I found out before I left that it would be FMS teacher Erin Parker replacing me, because I knew that she would be willing to let me come in and help train her. Although actually, Erin, and don't anybody tell STRS, but I actually came in before the time was up, before you were supposed to be in a building. So it really wasn't me that trained Erin. It was my alter ego, evil twin Janessa. I still kind of like that Janessa's attitude, you know? Okay. Now, I was thrilled because I knew Erin as a wonderful teacher and knew she would do a great job. I never wanted to be intrusive, but when she needed help, I knew she was willing to ask. I wasn't surprised when I knew she was moving on to bigger and better things, because I knew you were working on your administrative degree, and I'm so glad you remained at FMS, first as assistant and now as the principal of FMS. So then, who would it be next? One never knows. Well, I was so glad when I heard that it was Lori Schwabel, whom I first remember as Lori Gadberry, FMS student teacher. So I was able to help Lori as well. With her background as a language arts instructor and master's in classroom technology, she was a perfect fit. And I am so thankful that she has brought new ideas, new skills, including teaching a technology class, and new vitality to the FMS Media Center. I think it should be the Schwabel Media Center. And if that's been put up with command strips, I'm going to come down and change it sometime. I need a pretty high ladder, though. Faced with an ever-growing amount of technology equipment, she handles everything with ease and grace. I selfishly hope that she stays in that position until she retires. Lori, at least with final forms, you don't have to collect those darn AUP forms anymore. That was the bane of my existence. Oh, and Lori, I do have something special for you. I have to go down and get it. When I retired in 2013, I presented Erin with her very own library action figure. In this case, did she pass it on to you? Yeah. Oh, it's Nancy Pearl, the shushing librarian. My Nancy is so worn out, she doesn't shush. Oh, all right. Well, believe it or not, there was a lot of controversy because I admit Nancy's a little drab and old-fashioned looking, and the shushing, it was controversial. I admit I was a shusher myself, and I'm proud of it. But anyway, Lori, I'm delighted to tell you that there is a new Nancy Pearl Library Action Figure 2.0 that I am presenting to you today. She is in a red cape and a super person outfit, and it says, "When an age of darkness comes, a hero must rise." Nancy Pearl, librarian action figure. She stands against censorship, anti-intellectualism, and ignorance. And actually, in today's world, we need people like Nancy Pearl. So there's even the librarian code on there that you can read and treasure for the rest of your career. All right.
It's perfect.
All I can say is I enjoyed doing what I do. When I started college at Bowling Green, I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. And when I thought back to how much I loved going to the library and working as a library assistant in high school, I thought, oh, maybe I'll give this a try. And boy, was it the right choice for me. I found my niche and I never went away. So thank you all. This is still embarrassing and overwhelming to me, but I appreciate the gratitude that you're giving me. I love all you guys. Thanks.